Kenko Hacks, a podcast about wellness, health, and biohacking.
Konnichiwa. This is Eva at Kenko Hacks. We are honored to have today's guest, Tord Wingren, founder and executive advisor at Swedish company BrainLit, on a mission to make healthy indoor lighting. Tord, welcome and thank you very much for speaking to us today.
Thank you very much. It's an honor for me also to be with you today.
Thank you. To say that you are accomplished would be a vast understatement. You are well known in the circles of technology, especially Bluetooth, and you contributed to the very first Bluetooth specifications back in the 90s, and it was called MC Link at that time. But about 9 years ago, I think, you got very interested in health, especially the light's impact on health, and you founded BrainLit in 2012. And you submitted the first patent that will become the foundation to where BrainLit is today. Can you tell us how you became personally interested in light and how BrainLit was started?
Yes, actually, it's a little bit of a coincidence, but also one part of it is also very natural to me because when I grew up and when I was at school, and thanks to my elderly brothers, I was also both of them are engaged in medicine and pharmacology, and they have a lot of understanding how human beings physiology works. But I'm an engineer for my start, and I got very interested in making electronics. But I got more and more interested in doing electronics for doing health, and I was in company called Rifa 1989, I was also engaged in a project with light, and the customer there at that stage was actually meeting me again in 2011, and he was inviting me to kind of a discussion and conference with both scientists and professors, where I learned a lot more about light and light impact at that time on what they knew on and I got more and more interested, and I decided myself to really take a deeper look into the area, and started also communicating with some other researchers and research groups all over the world. And I took some free from the work, and I did actually my own study in the area, and got very fascinated because I thought that most of the problems as people has with light and had with light until then had also been due to the indoor lighting being so poor compared to what we as human beings should be has been used to be in hundreds of thousands of generations staying outdoors.
Yes.
So that was really how I got the idea.
It was very early. You mentioned 2011, and I have read BrainLit's company history on the website, and I think two Nobel prizes were mentioned. I think, but it was not until 2015. I think those things actually became quite popular, maybe, and people became more and more aware of the importance of light and its impact on our health. But you actually got involved in, and your interest was awakened quite early, I would say, already in 2011.
Mm. Yeah, I started to understand that the light impact possibly was much heavier than we had been thinking. One of the real problems with light and light impact on us human beings is that we don't feel it directly. that we are sitting inside in a bad light. Our body reacts very quickly to bad air quality, but to bad light, it takes really a lot of time to understand that the body really don't react directly on that. And I understood then that here is an area where there is so much more to do, and also that it will also mean a lot for us human beings if we can recreate a situation where generations of people has been exposed to outdoors. So today we spend more than 90% in average outdoors. So
Yes.
that was an intuition I got that there is much more to be done. And then, of course, there was the Nobel Prize, as you mentioned, in 2014. It was Nakamura-san when it comes to the blue LED,
Yes.
giving it much more possible for light, so to do total white light also composed with the blue component, and for our biology, we have the Nobel Prize in 2017 in medicine and the physiology and physics, and that was a very important one as well, because that is the one which is behind the detection and the findings of our biology clocks in each cell in our body,
Yes.
and that has started a whole new area, I would say, around chronobiology. It has been, of course, existing for quite some time, but really accelerated after that.
Yes. And BrainLit itself has a very strong connection tied to scientific institutes, especially Lund University here in Sweden. Already in the very beginning, your vision for BrainLit received approval by Vinnova, the Swedish governmental institution for innovations, for a joint research with Lund University about lighting.
Mm.
Could you maybe describe a little bit about the BrainLit's scientific connection or connection with the university and science?
Yes, it's been very important for me, and also when the company started, the professors were involved very early on, and I think since we are developing products based uh, on electronics and what we actually control system and algorithms, it's also very important that we understand the light research and what happens in that area. And therefore, I was has been very focused on having a scientific board involved, where we have also good discussions with scientists. Also outside our scientific board, we have good discussions with different scientists all over the world, I would say. And we do have connections to also different hospitals. But of course, one of the first connections we made was also with the Lighting Research Center in US. And then we have also built up on a new relationship with other research groups. And that is something I want to continue to do, because there's so much more to learn about light and the light impact on us human beings.
Yes, it's quite um, interesting and also humbling to hear. Like you say that, that as mentioned, you are such an accomplished person in especially in technology, and you say, hearing you say that you are still learning a lot. That makes me realize that there are so many things we can learn. Um, uh,
Yes.
Lifetime long, and that encourages me as well, that because I myself feel that every day is a learning opportunity. So
Yeah, you're so right. I like that statement very much. I think every day should be a day for new learnings, and I get so happy and so optimistic about it, because there's so much to learn. But and the more we learn about this, the better we can create what we call also light environments. But the total environments for us human beings should be good for our health. And if we have really good health systems and light systems, we can really improve our immune system and our resistance to sicknesses and viruses, which are so important those days. So
Yes.
it's really important to learn.
Yes. And I think that so this interview, this podcast is for people who are quite health conscious. And as such, they are quite, I think many of them are familiar with the importance of circadian rhythm on our health and lighting as well. Still, I think that the current awareness is not enough. For example, I was blown away to learn that approximately 20% of our genes are actually affected by light or lighting in a way or other. This was actually Nicholas Ulson, the CEO of BrainLit, mentioned this in his earlier interview.
Yes.
And I was totally blown away to actually hear that statement because it means that 1/5 of our genes are affected by light.
Mm.
And as such, of course, if you mentioned earlier that unlike air, for example, the impacts of lighting doesn't maybe one doesn't feel that immediately. I think that maybe that's more true with negative impacts of bad lighting, but I myself, for example, feel actually a quite huge difference if I go outside in the morning, even for a very brief period of time, and get the natural lighting in my eyes. And I do feel much more awake quite
Mm.
immediately. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be 1 hour outside. It's just couple minutes. So
Mm.
positive effects, I think, one can actually feel almost immediately.
Mm.
Um, but it is still quite a lot. I think people are still underestimating maybe the importance of light on our health.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
could you maybe please describe a little bit how light affects our health, which you already started, I think?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's a very big area to go into, and of
Yes.
course, what you are touching upon and describing here is the most important effect is, of course, to be able to have a good circadian rhythm, and thanks to that, if you can do that, you have also a very good hormone balance, and if you have a good hormone balance in your body, it means also that you have a better quality of sleep. So you can get a much better quality of sleep thanks to that, and of course we know that the sleep quality is really important in very many aspects, because
Yes.
it's related to a lot of different functions, and we see that when you're out of sync, when the body is out of sync, there's so many factors which is coming in. It's everything around irritability, it's poor attention, it's poor motivation, you get memory impairment,
Hmm.
there's more negative around the focus, you have less possibility, you're not focusing that well any longer. And in the long term, that's more short term effects. But the long term effects, it could be really bad. It's then you can really get immune suppression. You can get more increased risk for infections. And there are clear studies also showing that the cancer risks are increasing.
Hmm.
Also relationship to diabetes and other sicknesses have been seen, and this is of course then the effect of a bad sleep, as I mentioned here. So the light impact on our sleep is the major uh, thing, because the suprasmatic nucleus in the brain
Hmm.
is what we have to control our body clocks, and that specific part of the brain is also the one who, thanks to the light which comes through the eyes, is going directly into that core of the brain.
One thing about the lighting, I think, which maybe people get confused or get questions, at least I myself personally have thought a lot about, is when we talk about natural lighting, there are seasons and there are different geographical differences. And for example, I come from Tokyo in Japan, and there the sunrise and sundown, those times are quite regular throughout the year. It's not like here in Sweden when now we are
Yes.
getting uh, brighter time of the year, which I am very grateful for. But it can become quite dark in the winter, which I actually had never experienced before moving to. And I used to live in Finland, so
Mm.
I experienced
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
even darker
yeah,
there, but because it's more northern altitude. But
yeah.
still, it is when we say that light is important. How does it actually affect people living in such a northern altitude where natural light actually disappears naturally during a certain period of the year?
This is a very good question. And, first of all, I must tell you that there are clear studies showing that people and generations who has lived on the same altitude is less effective, of course, than people who actually move and change altitude uh, and due to travel or move in their work, etc., or move in life. And I would say that what we do with our light is try to adopt it on an individual basis, because we know that the gene effect on how the light is affecting us is different, and we are both different chronotypes. We have individual aspects also on the sensitivity of light,
Mhm.
and we are creating light recipes, which is taking care of what we call the body model, and that body model is derived with some sleep data and some other data we can get. It's also age dependent, but this factor is a very important component in our light system, where we can actually give more individualized light depending on what is best for you, what kind of chronotype you are, etc.
Yes, and this is actually, I think, maybe perfect time to introduce maybe um, biocentric lighting, I think, which is BrainLit's solution for lighting, or the core part of it. I understand that biocentric lighting is exactly doing such a personalized lighting for you. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. Could you please, for our listeners, I actually had such a luck to personally experience biocentric lighting, and actually that's thanks to that experience we are speaking today as well. In the office I used to work,
Mm.
I'm still employed by by the company, but we don't work in the office anymore. So
Yeah,
before coronavirus
yeah,
period, the office installs the BrainLit solution,
yeah.
biocentric lighting, and I was amazed myself how it actually affects my mood, productivity, and even sleep. Actually, the effect is lasting. It's
Mm.
not only the time I was in the meeting room where biocentric lighting was installed, but it really continued to affect me in a longer time. But
I'm
for
very
the
happy you're
yeah.
saying this. It's because this is what the effect is on the lighting, is that the dose, exposure dose you get of the biocentric lighting is important. And if you have a good lighting in the morning, in the in and also up until early afternoon and so on, then you have got maybe a dose of 4 to 6 hours of very good light. It means
Mhm.
actually that the body accumulates the light, and we call it light history. And that
Mhm.
kind of light history is actually important for them, how it lasts for quite a long time. You can think about, the movement of waves of hormones in your body, and when it coming and creating its dynamic, and that it has the cycles as the body likes to have the natural cycle, so to say. It means also that the body gets much stronger towards bad lighting later on. So it lasts for quite some time. And it means also that you are more resistant to bad lighting later during the evening, for example. Of course, in the evening, you need to have a more like twilight, because what you want to have, the closer you come to bedtime, of course, you need something which is more like a sunset. And that is also what the biocentric lighting is giving when it's been in the home, etc. But when you are in the office, it's normally more of the bright light, and especially in the morning. And the importance here is the quality of the light, that the light quality and the intensity is such that it's as natural as possible. The problem with the intensity levels is, of course, that you cannot always get what you get outdoors. And you don't need to have that high intensity as you have outdoors to get a good effect.
Mhm.
But you need to have at least a level uh, above 500 lux, coming into around 500 lux normally, and coming healthy lux, melanopsin lux, so to say, as we say it, and coming into your eyes, and of course this is. Also important to get any light which is not flickering. It should be a light which has also a good coloring index,
Mhm.
etc. So that whole aspect of light is something we care a lot about, and that is also what the biocentric light is giving in a normal, you can say, office installation. It's more like a group light. When it comes to another product, and what we also will do in the future, for close future here, for the offices, is that you have a much more personalized light. In Alven, you have a more personalized light, and that is really what the biocentric lighting is specialized to do. First of all, it can give this very good group lighting, but now we are getting into a much more personalized light.
Yeah, that's very interesting. This was the first time actually I heard about the terminology light history. So basically, the earlier the day, it is the more important to get good quality light because then you would be more resistant to bad quality lighting later in that day. That's
Yeah.
do I understand correctly? That's
Yes.
that's that's very interesting, I think. So
Mm.
that's one point which I have learned today. Another point is, so I really wanted to introduce biocentric lighting to the audience, which you have done an excellent job now. But is it so? It is. I know that many of our audiences are actually familiar with smart light bulbs. So they change the color during the day and maybe intensity as well. I'm not sure. But they are basically changing at least color and probably intensity throughout the day. And in this way, it's called smart and better for controlling the circadian rhythm inside. But biocentric lighting is much more than this, right? It's really
Mm.
totally different concept.
Yeah, yeah, because what we see is very important is that we are reproducing the daylight.
Yes.
And bulbs is much more a singular light source, and it's really the skylight, which is, I mean, we feel very happy if we have a very good skylight. The
Yes.
sunlight is not really necessary to always have every day, etc. And the sunlight is of course important to create the daylight, but if it's cloudy and more well spread and you have the whole sun, it's actually the whole sky, it's actually giving you the right light, which you need to have also indoors, and that is what we really try to do, is to give you the sunlight. This, sorry, the daylight. I
Skylight.
meant, of course,
Yeah,
the skylight.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
this is also second thing, actually, new thing I have learned today. I had never actually distinguished between the sunlight and the skylight.
Mm.
And that makes me actually instantly happy because I live in Sweden in the same city as you. And as just discussed before, coming from a city like Tokyo, which is quite sunny throughout the year, I had been worried. Actually, I was quite worried previously if my moving to Sweden has somehow compromised my circadian rhythm because of the lack of sunlight. But
Mm.
what you are saying here is no, as long as you have skylight, that is probably more important than
Yeah.
the sunlight.
Yeah. Actually, the body has a fantastic I mean, skill to separate, and distinguish the light, so it knows if it's a morning or evening and so on. If you just have the skylight and or daylight, I mean, then the skylight, then you do have a very good uh, reference, because that is enough for the body to distinguish and tell the rest of all the cells in the body
Mm,
what the time of the day actually is, and
mm. Yeah,
and
it makes also sense when we think about how our genes were formed before, because because probably the weather in this altitude, like in Sweden, Finland, for example, were quite like this today for many many years. And if it was the sunlight which was important on our circadian rhythm rather than skylight, of course, um, people would have people's genes would have became differently, I think, in the northern part of the world and the more sunnier part of the world. But it's not like that, right? The
right,
circadian rhythm is universal. It's global. It is as important for the Japanese people as for the Swedish people.
yeah,
So it
yeah.
makes total sense actually when I think about that. But I had never actually thought in that way.
No. Okay. No. It's really like that, and you can also imagine that we have blind people, and blind people who doesn't have the rods and the cones, they still have a circadian rhythm if they have the eye bottom still left,
Hmm.
and they have the possibility to actually sense the blue light and the skylight, so to say, the effect of the skylight during the day very much. So they do have a kind of circadian rhythm anyway. So there's been many experiments, and all of that is pointing in that direction, that it's definitely the skylight which is the most important for us. And of course, sunlight is giving us maybe some good effects as well, which I'm not that aware of. But
Yeah.
it's normally the skylight.
Yeah, that is really extremely interesting to me personally as well.
Mm,
Um, I as previously mentioned, so BrainLit is very scientifically oriented or scientifically based. I think its
mm,
company and also the products as well by BioCentric Lighting. And I read about I think a study done in Denmark last year, 2020, which showed biocentric lighting's positive effects on health. And I'm sure there are many other studies you have been conducting.
mm.
Could you maybe briefly discuss some of the studies behind biocentric lighting?
Yeah, I mean, we do have studies in school showing the improved sleep patterns of school in schools. We have in elderly care. We have also looked into like wake ups and how many wake ups you have. So it's really the quality of sleep as well, but also falls. I mean, the reduced number of falls as we have on elderly care due to that people has got better sleep and better circadian rhythms. They feel more balanced in the elderly care.
Interesting.
We have studies showing then that the cognitive improvement, thanks um, to the light, is the results in specific school tests has been improved by 12%, 11.8% in some study. We have that combination also looking into how air and light together can help, but it was especially the light which gave a lot of improvements. We have studies, of course, we have studies also with customers, and some of them are more not disclosed, but what we can say is that we have seen productivity improvements in their specific production, and we have seen also that the health and you can say the number of sickness days has went down thanks to the BioCentric Lighting, and so people has also felt much more happy and joyful, and and they feel they can do a much better work.
Yes,
Uh,
that it's
so
very important for the companies as well. I mean, the employers as well, of course.
yeah,
I can personally actually attest, as mentioned previously, that's exactly how I felt when I was experiencing biocentric lighting in the office during the daytime. I'm actually curious to hear, you mentioned that healthcare system, like hospitals, I think, have installed biocentric lighting, BrainLit solution, and have been enjoying their health benefits. What about night workers? When I hear hospital, what comes to my mind first is those people like nurses. They work 24/7. They are people who are working at night time. How do biocentric lighting adjust to those who have to work during the night time?
this is a very good question, and it's a very difficult area to address because we are not created to actually work in such a cycle. But of course, people has to do that kind of work, and then what we have to do from an employer side of, I think employers and those who create the environments in such buildings where there is a lot of night work, we has to make sure that people can operate and have a good hormone balance anyway. So
Yes.
so what we do normally is, depending on how the shift worker is working, we have different light recipes. And you can say we do have products now with, uh, you can say, almost blue light free. So you have no
Hmm.
blue light at all during the nighttime. And you have a more reddish light, which is also giving some kind of stimulation without suppressing the melatonin. To have a high melatonin during the nighttime is still very important, and that is the difficulty. Of course, you don't want to fall asleep.
Yes.
So your the hormone balance is really a difficult area. But what I'm trying to say is that if you have a cycle where you work more than 4 or 5 days, like night work, then there is a recommendation from different studies which we have been recommending is actually that you shift the day,
Hmm.
and that for these persons you have a more more you basically sleep during the daytime and you work during the nighttime, and then you should get the healthy and more boosty light and the same light as you get during the daytime, normal daytime.
Yes.
But normally people have maybe only 1 or 2 days in some operations, at least as I'm aware of, they have only 1 or 2 days night shift, and then they should not shift it, and then we have more an amber light
Mm-hmm.
for them. And what we try to do is, of course, what is especially important is before they go home from work, and then they should go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And we really want then to give them the best possible condition for that, where the melatonin should peak, or it should start peaking. I mean, raising so much
Yes.
that your sleep pressure is increasing before you go home.
Yes. This is exactly, I think it is really reflecting the personalized lighting you mentioned initially. It really sounds reflecting that what you have told us. Um, I would maybe like to introduce to the audiences about the actual BrainLit biocentric lighting solutions. We mentioned already, the hospital, you mentioned the school, as well as the places where maybe some of the typical places where BrainLit have been installed so far, and who have been asking for BrainLit solution. But what other kind of places are benefiting from this biocentric lighting?
Yeah, yeah. One important place is actually control rooms. I mean, the SOS alarm, for example, in Stockholm, they have installed our light, and we have a couple of others who are really interested to have the biocentric lighting 24/7 in their operation. Secondly, I mean, we have banks, we have really offices where people are spending a lot of time indoors. So if you are spending the whole office hour and so on indoors and in more closed environments, the more can say, the less windows and the less opportunity for taking breaks and go out from your office, the more important it will be to have a whole light. And of course, it's so there are a lot of different companies in offices, in industries, also manufacturing industries. We have our light in also in sports arenas, where we have installed our light, and we have also in retailers, they are using our light.
Is it for the customers or the people working, or maybe for both?
Yeah, actually for both. And then we have an increased interest also from hotels, where they want to use it. And
Hmm.
I would say we have also introduced a new solution, which is also giving disinfection light, which is of course more harmful when it comes to human beings, but it's good for doing cleaning and deactivation of viruses
Hmm.
and bacteria, so different pathogens.
Right. But this is, as you said, this is not for human. This is for a very specific purpose of killing the bacteria and pathogens.
Yeah, and virus.
Right. So is it ultraviolet lights then?
Yeah.
So that's BrainLit is really specializing in lighting.
Yeah, I think our speciality is understanding what is needed and doing a control system to expose. And then we have a lot of collaboration with light source manufacturers. We are not a traditional light source manufacturer. We want to create good health and safe environments. So if you go into a certain area, you want to know it's cleaned up. There should not be a lot of pathogens and so on. And then of course you need a good light when you're staying indoors. So a healthy light which can really help you to improve your health
Hmm.
every day is what we try to create thanks to our
Hmm.
control system.
Earlier, you mentioned about quality of lighting, and you also mentioned the flickering. I think that the more and the more people are becoming aware of flickering and its harmful effects. I have heard, for example, you could get headache if you are sensitive to flickering effects. But could you maybe
Mm.
describe a little bit more? But I actually have quite a little knowledge of what flickering is, and if the lights, for example, we have indoor normally, not BrainLit's optimal light, but normal light bulbs, for example, do they flicker, and why are they harmful?
Yeah, normally, the flickering is coming from how the light is being controlled and how the light source and its driver is being designed together. And you can say that the flickering aspect, when LED was introduced in the first generation, actually there was a lot of flickering light bulbs or light sources based on LED.
Hmm.
And part of that has been that LEDs control, and when you do dimming of LED light sources, you must be able to dim the light sources over the whole range without flickering. And many designs were just done to optimize the flickering in full or very low mode, but normally there was a lot of flickering when dimming. So what we have done is we have been designing together with our manufacturer drivers and software so that we can make a very, very low or non-flickering device at all. And of course, it's the low frequencies, you could say. Sometimes the eye doesn't see the flickering, but the brain detects it.
Yeah.
So it's very important that we have a non-flickering for all the frequencies. So it's actually a quite challenging engineering um, thing to actually get rid of it in total, and especially when you use LEDs.
But our computer screen also flickers, or is it not?
No, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. There is flickering problems also there.
Right. Yeah, and we stare at computers all day long, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
so flickering is everywhere, but you are trying to take it away from at least from the lighting of the indoor environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is
That
important.
actually, when you mention displays, it's actually interesting for me to mention that we actually have a technology and patent to do a solution where we can, with our software, we can actually make sure that the light which goes out from that specific
Mhm.
display is matching your chronotype, and it becomes a BioCentric lighting coming out from every display.
Mhm.
That is an area we haven't released any product yet.
I really hope that you release it quite very soon. It sounds
Yes.
extremely interesting and extremely important for all of us working in front of a
Yes.
computer every day.
Right. Exactly.
That's and I do believe that you have quite many patents like yourself along your lifetimes of work in technology, and also in your work for BrainLit as well. So BrainLit is very patent has very good patent portfolio, as I understand. It's
Mm, mm,
also very extremely assuring that how scientifically solid your company is, and that's how BrainLit has been operating. I think it's actually quite unique, really unique asset, scientific background and also patents. It's really
mm.
a great asset.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I also want to discuss an Alven. Is it pronounced
Yeah.
Alven or Alven?
No, Alven is fine actually. Alven, yeah.
Alven, which is the latest product from BrainLit. I think you released it last year. And Alven is it's a standalone solution which has biocentric lighting in. And this is, of course, extremely interesting, I think, for many of our listeners because being standalone, so your solutions, other solutions are usually something you install, right? You install
Mm,
in the office or some other places, but this is standalone.
yeah.
So is Alvin meant for consumers now or maybe in the future, or who are the who can benefit from Alvin?
Yeah, it's a very good question. No, we have we are selling it more business to business, but we intend to also let private and consumers buy it. We think it's it's a point of view solution, but it's also quite prepared for multi-purpose users or multi-users. So we can have it in an open environment in the office, for example, where you basically check in to the Alven personally, and you get you move with your light recipe, and you get your personalized light. So if somebody else check in and you leave that workplace, and somebody else come to the same workplace, they can actually get their own personalized light. So it depends a little bit also, of course, where the Alven is placed. It's very flexible, and so it can give the personalized light to anybody who's basically checking into it with a personal profile.
Right.
And then what we hope, of course, is that this is only for the first generation, and then we will have more different form factors, etc. But there we will probably also cooperate with some other companies so they can help us to develop their own designs and what they want to have. We have done this first phase because we see that healthcare has been very important, but also
Mhm.
offices. And now, actually, many people also start to use it as a home office equipment. And that's important. I think that the employer, at least in Sweden, has the responsibility also for the home office environment. That if you have a workplace home and working from home remotely, you should have a good environment. And
Yes.
then we give a special offer also to employers who can deploy this with their employees.
It is a very interesting area, I think, especially now. I have been working from home actually for the last year. Now it's actually been a whole year actually, and
Mm,
majority of my colleagues have been in the same situation. My fiance works at a different company here in Lund, but he has been also working from home during the same period of time as I have, and many other people I know they have been working from home.
mm,
And in the future, I am not sure how this is going to impact our working place after the Corona
no,
period is hopefully over. But my feeling is that it is going to impact the people's thought, people's way of thinking, what the workplace is and where it should be in the future, even after the pandemic is over, maybe. And in that case,
mm,
yeah.
mm. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. So we want to be able to sell it also to the home workplace, but I think it depends a bit on the employer and what they want to do. But we are actually, I mean, the start of the Alven sales has started now, and the first important, you can say, sales channel for us is within the healthcare segment, and our cooperation with Ario is published and well public and well known. So they will use Alven in for their elderly care business, so to say.
Mhm. And as I understand, you have been so busy producing and providing biocentric lighting, including Alven, to your customers. They are quite high demand, and demand is much higher than what actually you can supply. It's been
Mm,
very popular.
yeah.
Yeah, and I can easily understand that because I think part of the reason people mm, maybe haven't really gotten a full understanding of the importance of lighting on our health is that there is really no solution for that. We briefly discussed this color changing light bulb, but it is not exactly natural light. It's not imitating natural light, just
Right.
or skylight, as you say.
Mm,
And as long as I am aware of BrainLit solution, especially Alven, is the first such real solution which can be potentially installed at home if you are
mm,
lucky enough to get one. And and I really hope that my hope for the future really is that um, it becomes more and more available. This kind of solution or this quality of solution becomes more and more available for individual people in the future, so that more people can really benefit from this important really element of health, which we had been maybe ignoring, or which we weren't so much aware of just 10 years ago.
mm, mm. No, you're right. You're right. I think that's one of the difficulties is still that the awareness of importance of light is still quite low, and we, um, we need more ambassadors and we need more channels to reach out. So I think your podcast is quite good also for learning and teaching what light actually means. And
Thank you. We try to we try to spread the knowledge, and we really hope that the message gets spread out to many people. But I wanted to go back to maybe BrainLit as a company, and also as you and Tord as a person. Uh, do you have some ambitions or directions for either BrainLit or for yourself in the future? You just mentioned maybe evangelizing or educating people, raising awareness about the importance of the light. And you are so knowledgeable about lighting as a person as well, but also as a company. What do you have any some exciting future directions you could maybe share with us?
yeah, as my personal dream is to make biocentric lighting available to all and everybody all over the world, and that we can do some partnership because. Like Bluetooth, you could say. I mean, if we can make it, if biocentric lighting could be a light which all and everybody could have access to from different manufacturers, and I would be really happy, really, really. I mean, then. Then I think I will be so happy so I cannot come to sleep almost. But it's
Even the sleep is very important.
yeah. So I really that's my dream, and it's I think the light we human beings will continue to spend a lot of time indoors, but we need to make our solution more mobile. So we try to make by carrying with you your light profile and be able to if we know that you can check into different light environments, and we know that that light environment is compatible with biocentric lighting, as soon as you check into your personal area, if you're sitting in an airplane, or if you're sitting in a bus, or if you are at home, or if you are at your normal workplace, maybe you have flexible workplaces, wherever you should go, you should be able to get the light as you are built to get, because we cannot change the fact that so many. There's about 10,000 generations of human beings if
Hmm.
you look backwards, and it's impossible to change our body as fast as the technology do. And
Yes.
what we have to do is to help our body instead, and make sure that we have a friendly, well, good environment which the body can recognize as it has been used to do. And that's where I'm coming from. I want really that to happen, and that therefore I think it's very important that displays in computers or mobile phones, etc., can also be biocentric. And I want to provide special biocentric glasses as well. So it's a number of things where I feel that I have a lot of work to do.
Yes, and I think we are eagerly waiting for your work to work to come out and to be released. Really, because it's so exciting to just listen to what you just said. Because yeah, I actually myself realized that even though we spend 1 hour outside every day, it is much less than 10% of your time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and if you spend 2 hours, it's still less than 10%
yes,
of your
yes,
daytime spending outside. And
exactly.
actually, if you would spend 2 hours outside, I think for most of us working inside or studying inside, it is quite a lot of time outside already.
Yeah.
Many of us don't do even that, not even 10%. So
Mm,
that is a fact, and it's quite difficult to change that aspect of our life because we have to be productive and working inside or studying inside.
mm,
So technology to help us who are bound to inside
mm,
yeah, for a reason or other, usually for work or study related or duty related. How to help, how can technology help those of us to be as healthy as if we were outside in outdoor as we used to do, our generations of ancestors used to do.
mm.
That's a really, I think, really important problem to solve. And as said,
Yeah.
I am personally eagerly waiting for those solutions to come out. And yeah, it's actually so exciting to hear your company is actually located quite close to where I live, and because it's in the
Mm,
same city, and it's very exciting to feel that heartbeat of such a cutting edge technology from my current hometown here in Sweden.
mm, mm. Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Um, is there, you mentioned that about your dream and just minutes ago, and if and I'm pretty very sure that many people listening to this interview by now have become very interested in about you, BrainLit, and your work. And if people are curious to learn more about BrainLit or about you, where can people find you?
Yeah, well, the company is located nowadays in Skällevägen 34.
Hmm.
So it's in the northern part of Lund, and I think um, Niklas Olsson is really the one who represents our CEO of the company, etc. So if it's any business and so on, he should be contacted.
Hmm.
If it's more about what biocentric lighting and our research and our ideas, what we think, yeah, the light can do, etc., and studies and scientific studies, etc., then they can also contact me.
Hmm. Yep, I will make sure that they are written in the note of the podcast as well, so that they have company's website and also the contacts for different purposes. And you maybe your company had some social media sites as well. And if yeah, then yeah,
Yes,
I will
yes,
put
yes.
that on the notes as well. Um, finally, anything else you would like to add to our conversation today? I think I feel we have gotten quite a lot, and I have learned many new things actually today. And I thought before speaking to you today, I actually had thought I already knew quite a lot about lighting, but I was wrong. And that's really good because I want to really learn more every day. And this is such an important topic.
Mm.
And I still do believe that it is quite underestimated the importance of lighting. And I really want to learn much
Yeah.
more in the future as well. But anything you would like to add?
No, I think I mean, the vision is improving life with biocentric lighting and for everybody. And I think one aspect is also light is important for the first time in your life. I mean, we have light for premature born babies,
Hmm.
but we have also light for people in the elderly care, etc. So the light during your whole life is an important aspect, and there I also think the personalized light is important because our eyes is also changing, and our biology is also changing over time. So there is an age effect also, which makes it also important for personalized life.
Do you actually mean that when as we age, our um, our reception or our ability to receive light decreases?
Yeah, there are different aspects exactly, and one of the aspects is of course that you get. Your eyes and hormone system has been changing somewhat, and it's not that you have to change this every day, but it's definitely a changing factor. The age factor is important because of the for example, is the eye less sensitive when you get older? It's blocking more light
Mhm.
and spreading more light as well, and the other age effects, of course, in your body system as well when it comes to the light physiology. And I think it's too much for me to go into that, but it's certainly a factor which need to be taken care of, and where we see a lot of individual variations as well.
Yeah, that was actually quite interesting. I have learned still yet another new thing during this interview, and I could really continue talking to you. It's really fascinating topic, and I could continue speaking to you the whole day. But of course, I would like to respect your time. You have been very generous with your time today. Um, um, so thank you so much for today, Tord. I truly enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This was a podcast from Kenkoax. To follow us, subscribe on the channel Kenkoax on all the places where you can find podcasts.